Meteorologists are now facing death threats is the sort of sentence that you shouldn't have to say in the news of all the people to face death threats. Really, meteorologists? No, they are. They're all over the place. So we're gonna give you the details. And so meteorologists who've been reporting on these hurricanes have now spoken with the media. Let's talk about Washington, D.C. based meteorologist Matthew Cappucci, who said people are just so far gone, it's honestly making me lose all faith in humanity. Seemingly overnight, ideas that once would have been ridiculed as very fringe, outlandish viewpoints are suddenly becoming mainstream, and it's making my job much more difficult. He said, okay, so the reporter says the main one that people have latched onto is the accusation that the government can control the weather. And so they see that and they think, well, the meteorologists obviously would know this, and they're not saying it, so they're lying. So they're in league with the government, in league with the beast 666. And so they're a part of this, and that's why they're lashing out at them. Alabama meteorologist James Spann says, I've been doing this for 46 years and it's never been like this. He says he's been inundated with misinformation and threatening messages like, quote, stop lying about the government controlling the weather or else. Nowadays, there's so much bad information out there that if we spent our time getting rid of it, we'd have no more time. Basically saying like, we have to report on the weather. We also have to fight against the conspiracy theories. We get 2 minutes at the end of each news segment to cover this stuff. We can't do all that. And we've got even worse stuff. So to go back to Cappucci, the Washington, D.C. one, he said, for me to post a hurricane forecast and for people to accuse me of creating the hurricane by working for some secret Illuminati entity is disappointing and distressing, and it's resulting in a decrease in public trust. He says he hasn't slept in multiple days and is exhausted. This last week, he received hundreds of messages from people accusing him of modifying the weather and creating hurricanes from space lasers. I have no idea where that last one came from. I can't point my finger at any particular Georgia congresswoman. I just can't. I don't know. I love that it's not enough for these people to think that he's working with the deep state. No, he's making the hurricanes. He's on the roof of the weather building, strapped into a massive orbital laser, and then the storm just starts. That's what he does. That's what he does. It's strange that no one's captured that on video. It's the sort of thing that you think would go viral. But anyway, goes on to say, ignorance is becoming socially acceptable, and I could not agree more. 40 or 50 years ago, if I told you I thought the moon was pretend, people would have laughed at me. Now people are bonding over these incredibly fringe viewpoints. 100% true. And I love the way he contextualizes the claims against him to say, an average hurricane's life cycle burns through the energy of roughly 10,000 nuclear bombs. The idea that we can even influence something like that, never mind direct it, is just so outlandish that it's almost sadly funny. And I agree, except about the funny part, it's just sad. And as we talked about, the same people that think that we can take a thing of 10,000 nuclear bombs and be like, hit Tampa, are the ones who are like, no, all of us emitting carbon for decades and decades and decades, I don't think that could raise global temperatures at all. That seems outlandish to me. And I want to go to another meteorologist, Katie Nicolau, had this interaction on Twitter, okay? It was a male commenter who said a category 6, it would be a tornado. So that's not how that works. I'm not a meteorologist or anything. You'll be surprised to find out, but that's not how it works. She is. And so she responded, nope, those are different storms with different processes. Though hurricanes can produce tornadoes, and we in fact have seen that with Milton, it doesn't affect the overall categorical rating. And I'd like to give her credit for her foresight by putting multiple smileys into that to try to ward off this male commenter turning feral and threatening to kill her. He wasn't buying it though. He says, yes, it would be a tornado. Anything above category 5 would be a tornado, yes. He is mansplaining hurricanes to a meteorologist. It's not how it works. It doesn't go from hurricane to tornado. Like you can have a talk about should there be a category 6, and I think there's been a lot of good reasons provided as to why it would be a bad idea to actually set that up, because then people might think, well, category 5 not so bad. I mean, after all, there's a 6, and they also say it's kind of like I don't know, a philosophical distinction between 5 and 6 because 5 already destroys everything. So what does it destroy it more? It smashes the smithereens into flinders or something. But this guy, like again, you cannot convince people of even the most basic definitional things. And she goes on to say that she's had to fend off rumors that meteorologists should just use giant fans to blow the hurricane away or try nuking it. Now, I don't know where the fan thing came from, but I know where the nuking hurricanes thing came from. I've been doing TDR for long enough to remember that one. And by the way, I just want to briefly mention that it's not just on like Facebook or Twitter that is happening. On TikTok, which has always been such a responsible platform, there's misinformation there too. There are calls for violence against FEMA personnel. And honestly, when I read that, I thought, oh, yeah, no, I guess that does make sense. I mean, you've got people going around saying that FEMA is stealing the resources that should go to good white Americans and giving them to Mexicans or whatever. And they're setting up roadblocks to steal your money. And they're stealing your car so they can mine, or your house so they can mine lithium. Yeah, I guess at some point, if you believe that, you'd probably want violence against them. And they're calling for it. Videos getting hundreds of thousands of views like this are saying that the charge is treason. Punishment can mean being unalived immediately by the citizens you are withholding aid from. See, you're stealing our aid, so we get to unalive you. Like under a certain conspiratorial mindset, it almost makes logical sense, except it doesn't at all. And like I could go to the Media Matters link. There's a million videos like that that are accruing tons of views of people saying, yeah, no, not only should you injure or unalive these FEMA personnel. By the way, did you know it's already happening? Towns have risen up and beaten the FEMA personnel. And then other videos come out saying, that's awesome. I mean, it didn't happen. I don't know why you would think it was awesome if it did happen, but it also didn't happen. And so there's a lot of madness out there. And again, I try to remind people the conspiracy theories don't just interfere with the recovery or the evacuation. It potentially leads to violence and calls for civil war. Explicitly race-based civil war is a pattern I noticed across these videos.